Welcome to episode 4 of Haunted and Abandoned, and welcome to Pennhurst State School and Hospital. Pennhurst State School and Hospital was at the heart of the human rights movement that revolutionized this country's approach to healthcare for the mentally and physically handicapped. Pennhurst started being built in 1903 on a site in Spring City known as Crab Hill. The first group of buildings were completed in 1908, and the original campus layout was finished by 1921. The first few buildings were built on 1,400-acre site containing a firehouse, general store, barber shop, movie theatre, auditorium, even a greenhouse, baseball and recreational fields. They even have their own cemetery on the property, but more were built in later years. After World War II, 2 more buildings were created and the last one was built in 1971, totaling 31 buildings. All of Pennhurst electricity was generated by an on-site power plant, and it policed its own grounds and produced its own food. A railway line that connected the campus to the outside world supplied any additional needs. Pennhurst first opened its doors in November of 1908 by the name Pennhurst Home for the Feeble-Minded and Epileptic. And it was one of the largest institutions of its kind in Pennsylvania. Pennhurst was a Pennsylvania state-run institution for the feeble-minded and epileptic. The age of the residents ranged from infants to people over 70 years old, due to pressure to accept not only the mentally and physically handicapped, but also immigrants, criminals and orphans who could not be housed elsewhere. It was overcrowded within only a few years. Most of the people there weren't insane, just mentally retarded, autistic or suffering other serious physical impairments. Their level, which was categorized into 3 main groups, generally separated them: morons 59-69, imbeciles 20-49, and idiots below 20. These medical terms were antiquated before they became popular in common slang, and were replaced with the terms mild, moderate, severe, and profound mental retardation. Some residents apparently just had learning disabilities or hyperactivity and emotional problems that made them seem more impaired. They would end up on high-functioning wards. Pennhurst had staff on the premise including a board of trustees, medical staff, dental staff, and specialists in psychology, social services, accounting, and various fields of education. Pennhurst accepted its first patient in 1908. Patients were either court-ordered or dropped off by their family who did not want to care for their mentally challenged child anymore. The school was supposed to get the patients back out into society, but that plan quickly failed. Only 200 of the residents were in any kind of art, education, or recreation programs that would help to improve their condition, though many of the patients were high-functioning enough to improve with the right care. After 4 years of being opened, the campus was already overcrowded. Most rooms were holding 8 to 10 patients when only designed for 4. Patients were abused by staff ranging from beating, teeth pulling, broken bones, and overdose on certain drugs, including the patients in wheelchairs. Some of the staff arranged patients to abuse other patients for fun. Pennhurst housed over 10,000 patients, was a 300-bed hospital, had a full nursing staff and 2 surgeons on call at all times. In 1946, there were only 7 physicians serving over 2,000 patients at Pennhurst, with no room for the 1,000 still on the waiting list for admission. The patient census peaked at 3,500 in 1955. By the mid-1960s, Pennhurst had been open for 50 years. It housed 2,791 people, most of them children, which were about 900 more than the administration thought the buildings could comfortably accommodate. In 1968, a local news station did a 5-part TV series called Suffer the Little Children on the condition at the school and hospital. It showed the public the horrible conditions at Pennhurst. When the interviewer asked one patient what he would like most in the world, if he could have anything he wanted, the sad and withdrawn reply was simply, to get out of Pennhurst. In 1986, Pennhurst was ordered closed, and began a program of deinstitutionalism that lasted several years. After a class action case, Halderman versus Pennhurst State School, which asserted that the mentally retarded have a constitutional right to living quarters and an education. Terry Lee Halderman had been a resident of the school, and upon release she filed suit in the district court on behalf of herself and the other residents of Pennhurst. The institution was forced to close its doors for good in 1987. Portions of the campus were repurposed into a home for veterans. And the National Guard found a few buildings to use as an armory. However, most of the campus was shuttered and forgotten about. Pennhurst has been abandoned for over 25 years, although it is privately owned today. Many patients die from abuse and suffer in this institution. This place is now home to the spirits of abused and innocent patients who lurk this campus. Several reputable ghost hunter groups have documented audible recordings. Temperature changes, an unexplained movement of objects in the buildings of Pennhurst. In 2010, the administration building was renovated to become the Pennhurst Asylum, a Halloween attraction. The rest of the campus is used for composting by Penn Organic Recycling LLC. Pennhurst were unsanitary, inhumane and dangerous, that these living conditions violated the 14th Amendment, and that Pennhurst used cruel and unusual punishment in violation of the 8th and 14th Amendments. After a 32-day trial and an immense investigation, prosecutors concluded that the conditions at Pennhurst were not only dangerous, with physical and mental abuse of its patients, but also inadequate for the care and rehabilitation for the mentally retarded. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania also concluded that the physical, mental, and intellectual skills of most patients had deteriorated while in Pennhurst. The present owners are taking steps to reverse the 23 years of damage wrought by time and vandalism to the remaining buildings.